Hey, I just want to say something real quick. If you're here right now, whether you've been around for a bit or this is your first time clicking, I appreciate it. I really do. The fact that you're showing up, that you're here, that you're willing to sit with whatever this is, that means something. So, yeah, welcome. Let's get into it. Okay, so there's something happening. And I need you to stay with me on this because what I'm about to describe, it's not about creating paranoia. It's not about making you anxious or suspicious or scared. It's about awareness. It's about you understanding the energy that's moving around you right now, the dynamics that are playing out in spaces you can't see, the reality of what's happening when you're not in the room. And here's the thing. You already sense it, don't you? You already have this feeling, this this knowing that something's off, that something's happening that you're not fully aware of, that there are conversations, there are actions, there are energies in motion that involve you, but that you're not present for. Does that make sense to you? It's like um, it's like when you walk into a room and people stop talking, or when you notice a shift in someone's energy, but you can't quite name what changed, or when you get this gut feeling that there's more to a situation than what's being presented to you. And you might have been ignoring it. You might have been telling yourself you're overthinking, you're being paranoid, you're creating problems that don't exist. But that feeling, it keeps coming back. It keeps tapping on your awareness. It keeps saying, pay attention. Something's not right here. Have you noticed that too? And the reason this is important, the reason you need to know this, it's not so you can confront anyone. It's not so you can create drama or accusations or conflict. It's so you can protect yourself. It's so you can make informed decisions. It's so you can stop operating from a place of partial information and start seeing the full picture. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar, because here's what happens when things are going on behind your back. When people are talking about you, when situations are developing without your knowledge, when decisions are being made that affect you but you're not included in, it puts you at a disadvantage. It keeps you operating from a false understanding of reality. And you can feel that, can't you? You can feel the misalignment between what you're being told and what's actually true, between the face people show you and the reality of how they're moving when you're not watching. Does that make sense to you? And I know this is uncomfortable. I know it's easier to not look. It's easier to trust what's being presented to you. It's easier to believe that people are being straightforward, that situations are what they appear to be, that you have all the information you need. But that ease, it comes at a cost. The cost of being blindsided, the cost of making choices based on incomplete or false information, the cost of being manipulated or misled without even realizing it. Have you noticed that pattern? So what's actually happening behind your back? What are these dynamics that are playing out in your absence? Well, there are conversations. Conversations about you, about your choices, about your life, about your relationships. People are talking, they're sharing opinions, they're making judgments, they're creating narratives about who you are and what you're doing. And some of those conversations, they're not kind, they're not supportive, they're not coming from a place of genuine care or concern. They're coming from jealousy, from insecurity, from resentment, from people's own unresolved issues that they're projecting onto you. Does that feel true for you? And here's what's tricky. The people having these conversations, they might be people you trust, people you consider close, people who smile to your face and act like everything's fine, but behind your back, they're saying things, they're doing things, they're positioning themselves in ways that don't align with how they present to you directly. And that's what you're sensing. That's the dissonance you're feeling. That's the misalignment between what you're experiencing face to face and what's actually happening in the spaces you can't see. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar. Now, there are also actions, things being done without your knowledge, decisions being made, plans being formed, movements happening that will eventually affect you, but that you're not being included in or informed about. And maybe those actions aren't malicious. Maybe they're just careless. Maybe people aren't thinking about how their choices impact you. Maybe they're operating from their own self-interest without considering you as part of the equation. But whether it's intentional or not, the effect is the same. You're being left out. You're being kept in the dark. You're being treated as if your awareness, your input, your perspective doesn't matter. Does that make sense to you? And then there's the energy that's being directed at you from behind. Jealousy, envy, judgment, criticism, comparison. People watching what you're doing, how you're living, what you're creating, and having reactions to it. Strong reactions they're not expressing to you directly, but that are absolutely present in how they think about you, talk about you, position themselves in relation to you. Have you noticed that weight? And this energy, even though you can't see it, even though it's happening behind your back, you can feel it. You can feel the heaviness. You can feel the resistance. You can feel that something's not quite right in certain relationships or situations, even if you can't point to specific evidence. And that feeling, that's your intuition, that's your awareness picking up on what's happening energetically, even when you don't have the concrete details. Does that feel true for you? So what do you do with this? How do you handle knowing that things are happening behind your back, that conversations are being had, that energy is being directed at you, that you're not getting the full truth of certain situations? Well, first, you trust yourself. You trust that feeling you've been having. You stop dismissing your intuition as overthinking. You stop letting people convince you that you're imagining things when your gut is clearly telling you something's off. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar, because people will do that. They'll gaslight you. They'll make you feel like you're being paranoid or dramatic or overly sensitive. They'll tell you everything's fine when it's not. They'll present a calm surface while chaos is happening underneath. And if you're not grounded in your own knowing, if you're not trusting your own perception, you'll believe them. You'll doubt yourself. You'll override your intuition to keep the peace or maintain the relationship or avoid conflict. But that's how you stay stuck in situations that aren't honest. That's how you keep investing in people who aren't being real with you. That's how you continue operating from partial information while everyone else has the full picture. Does that make sense to you? And second, you observe, you pay attention, you watch how people move, you notice inconsistencies, you track patterns, you look for the gaps between what people say and what they do, between how they act to your face and the energy you feel from them. You become a student of the dynamics around you instead of just passively accepting what you're told. Have you noticed that shift in yourself? Because once you start really paying attention, things become clear. The people who are genuine and the people who are performing, the relationships that are solid and the ones that are surface, The situations that are honest and the ones that are built on omission or deception, and that clarity, that's power. That's information you can use to make better choices, to protect your energy, to invest in what's real and divest from what's fake. Does that make sense to you? Now, here's something important. Just because things are happening behind your back doesn't mean you need to confront everyone. Doesn't mean you need to call people out. Doesn't mean you need to create confrontation or demand explanations. Sometimes the best response to discovering what's happening in your absence is to simply adjust accordingly, to quietly shift how you engage, to pull back your energy from people who aren't being straight with you, to make different choices based on your new understanding. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar. Because confrontation, it often just leads to more lying, more justification, more manipulation. People will explain away what they've been doing. They'll minimize it. They'll make you feel like you're overreacting for even bringing it up. But you know what you feel what you feel, and you don't need anyone to validate your perception for it to be real and for you to act on it. Does that feel true for you? And third, you protect yourself. You become more discerning about who you trust, about what information you share, about how much access you give people to your life, your plans, your vulnerabilities. Because if things are happening behind your back, if people are talking, if energy is being directed at you, if you're being left out of conversations and decisions that affect you, then clearly not everyone in your circle has your best interests at heart. And you need to operate from that reality. Not from the reality you wish existed, where everyone is genuine and trustworthy and operating in integrity. Have you noticed that need in yourself? So you tighten your circle. You become more selective. You stop treating everyone like they deserve full access to you. You reserve your trust, your vulnerability, your real self for people who've actually earned it through consistent, honest behavior over time. Not just people who say the right things, but people who do the right things, people whose actions match their words, people who show up the same way whether you're in the room or not. Does that make sense to you? And look, I'm not saying become paranoid. I'm not saying trust no one. I'm not saying isolate yourself or assume everyone's out to get you. But I am saying be real about what's happening. Be honest about the dynamics you're sensing. Be willing to see people as they actually are, not as you want them to be or as they present themselves to be. Because staying in denial, staying in false comfort, it doesn't actually protect you. It just keeps you vulnerable to being hurt, being used, being undermined by people you thought were solid. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar. And here's the thing about knowing what's going on behind your back. It changes how you move. It changes what you're willing to tolerate. It changes how you show up in relationships and situations. Because once you know, you can't unknow. Once you see, you can't unsee. Once you feel the truth of what's happening in spaces you're not present for, you have to decide what you're going to do with that awareness. Does that make sense to you? And maybe that's uncomfortable. Maybe it means making changes you weren't ready to make. Maybe it means distancing yourself from people you care about. Maybe it means accepting that certain situations aren't what you thought they were. But discomfort in the service of truth, that's growth. That's protection. That's you choosing reality over illusion, choosing clarity over comfort. choosing yourself over maintaining dynamics that are hurting you behind the scenes. Have you noticed that pull? So, yeah, things are happening behind your back. Conversations, actions, energy, dynamics that you're not fully aware of, but that you're absolutely feeling the effects of. And you needed to know this, not to create anxiety, not to make you paranoid, but to empower you, to validate what you've been sensing, to give you permission to trust yourself and act on what you know, even if you can't prove it. Because your intuition, it's real. Your gut feeling, it's valid. Your sense that something's off, it's accurate. And now that you know, now that you're aware, you get to decide what you do with that information. Stay grounded, stay observant, stay protective of yourself. I don't sell futures, I build architects. No predictions, just the raw truth for the tough ones. Stay magic, stay in the now.